Today's gospel reading is probably one of the more frightening pieces of scripture. It's frightening for a couple of reasons. Number one, in today's gospel, Jesus clearly teaches us that our actions really do matter and that our actions will determine where we spend eternity. We should have a healthy fear about that. The second thing that Jesus does here is he ties actions concretely to virtue. He talks about these people who have shown care for the least amongst us as being the virtuous ones. So what this means is it's not enough simply to know about virtue. It's not good enough to simply talk about virtue. If you want to be a virtuous person, you actually have to live out the virtues in your life. And speaking personally, I find today's passage really frightening because if I'm honest, I look around at my own life and I think, man, there is more that I could be doing for the least and the more vulnerable members of our community. And I think if we're all honest, we should come to that same conclusion if we look at our own lives. I also think about the fact that I'm a father, and I think to myself, what kind of role modeling am I showing to my children? The way I think about, for example, material possessions, the way I think about my job security and finances, is that reflecting this authentic love and care for the least and the more vulnerable members of our community? Or am I too busy and too obsessed trying to hoard and build up these things for some sort of perceived sense of security? And what is that teaching my kids about this gospel call to go out and care and show care and concern for the least and the most vulnerable members of our community? I think Lent is a great opportunity for us to really meditate again and to, I think, reevaluate and redevelop, if we've lost it, this healthy fear of our actions and whether or not they are lining up to what Christ calls us to today in the gospel. So perhaps today we could all challenge ourselves to, in some even small way, I'm not talking about quitting your job and selling your house and moving to Africa. What I'm talking about here is perhaps even in some small way today to begin that movement of reaching out to the world around us and showing care and concern and love for those who need it. Today's saint quote of the day comes from Saint Teresa Benedicta of the Cross, and she said this: "The nation doesn't just need what we have, the nation needs what we are." In other words, that call today in the gospel from Christ to go out and to be his hands and feet to our neighbour, particularly the more vulnerable members of our community, that isn't just something we should do because Christ calls us to it. It's something that we should do because our neighbour needs it desperately from us. There are so many broken and hurting people in our communities, and we as Christians should be leading the way in reaching out to those people, because they don't just need the Christ that we know and are in relationship with, but they need to experience his love in their lives. And they are not going to begin to experience that love if we are not being Christ's hands and feet. So the nation doesn't just need what we have, the nation needs what we are. And what we are, or what we are supposed to be, is Christ's hands and feet.